Heels off, game on. 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 It's a game day, diva theme song. Heels off, game on. It's a game day, diva theme song. Make some noise if you're ready for the stats. Make some noise if you're ready for the chat. It's your game day, diva.
Hello, what's up? Welcome to this episode of Heels Off, Game On. And yes, the heels are off. You can see behind me, the heels are hanging. It is time for Game On. This is the Sports Talk Diva. I will tell you whether you are a football junkie, a game day screamer, or you're just here for the drama. This is your new favorite huddle, I promise. So let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about college football. I know we've got a lot of sports going on right now, and I'm super excited as a sports fan to have so much happening right now. But right now, I do want to talk about what's going on in the world of college football. I'm so excited. Going to talk a little bit about I'm going to say the top 25, but I'm going to mention the top 10. So, right now, we've got Texas at number 1. We got 2, Penn State, 3, Ohio State, 4 is Clemson, 5 is Georgia, 6 is Notre Dame, 7 is Oregon, 8 is Alabama, 9 is LSU, and 10 is Miami. Now, for the first time in their program history, Texas is opening up number 1. Yes. I know it's a little hard to believe that they've never been number 1. So we'll see if that holds. Texas has a tough schedule. They're going to open up with number 3 Ohio State. And not only that, Texas, we understand, they do have Arch Manning. Arch Manning comes from that Manning pedigree, of course. We expect him to do great things, all right? But he is unproven. So we'll see what he does. Once again, I expect him to do some great things. There's a lot of inexperience on the offensive line and on the defensive line. So we'll see what Texas is able to do against Ohio State. Now, Ohio State, they did lose 14 players to the draft last year. 14. They actually had the most in this year's draft, followed by Georgia, Texas, and Oregon. Each of those schools had 10. But Ohio State still has the best wide receiver, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in all of college football in Jeremiah Smith. Now, who's going to be throwing to Jeremiah? We already know he's just been named Julian Sayin. So he's going to be throwing to him. And even though they lost some good players last year, they still have besides Jeremiah Smith, on defense, they have Caleb Downs, who is considered to be one of the best defensive players in college football. So look for Caleb to do some things there. Also, they have a real strong cornerback in Davidson. I'm just going to say because I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I don't want to mess it up, but their cornerback is pretty good as well. They also have linebacker Sonny Styles. So Ohio State, I'm sure, is going to bring the heat on next Saturday. You got 1 versus 3. Now, I think Ohio State may be ranked too high, in my opinion. Now, of course, in my opinion, I'm a Clemson girl, so I really would take Penn State out of number 2 and move them down. They can go to 4 or 5, wherever, and I'm gonna put Clemson up at number 2. But for right now, let's just see how this whole thing plays out, because on next Saturday, for the first time in college football, we have 3 top 10 teams going up against each other. Once again, we've got Texas going to Ohio State. We've got LSU coming to Clemson. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that game in a minute because I am a Clemson fan. And then we've got Notre Dame and Miami. Now, they've always called that matchup the Catholics versus the convicts. So unfair. I think that came from back in the 80s when Miami apparently had some guys that they considered to be kind of thuggish, whatever the case may be. So they always called that little rivalry the Catholics versus the convicts. So we'll see if Notre Dame can come out of the gate strong and, have a great season like they did last year. But I'm going to go back to Clemson and LSU. You got two Tigers, Tiger versus Tiger. You got Death Valley and Death Valley. Now, Coach Brian Kelly says that they are the real Death Valley and they're the real Tigers. That's all fine and well. When they get to Clemson, South Carolina, our Death Valley, they will see who the real Tigers are. Okay, I assure you, we will have the loudest roar. Okay, we're going to come out of that one victorious. Okay, we will be victorious. Let me give you some of the keys to Clemson winning that game and making a very deep run in the playoffs. Now, we've got Cade Klubnik coming back, potential Heisman candidate. I like what Cade did last year. He really came on. He just really came on strong last year and showed a lot of resiliency, consistency, and ultimately we did win the ACC championship. Okay, so he's going to be throwing to. We've got Antonio Williams, we got Brian Wesco, we've got TJ Moore, and we've got Tyler Brown. That duo, that group, could be one of the best wideout groups in the nation. So I like who Cade is going to be throwing to. I like that wideout group, okay? Now, let's talk about who's going to be protecting Cade. On the O-line, we have 5 of the 6 players returning. So I like what we've got on that O-line protecting Cade. Where I feel we are a little inexperienced is at running back. We lost Phil Maffa, to the draft. He got drafted by the Cowboys. We have some young guys that will be playing some true freshmen. Now, from what I understand, it looks like maybe we're going to go with Gideon Davidson. And there's also Adam Randall is a strong contender as well. So I'm going to wait and see what that running back tandem looks like. But behind that old line, I think we'll be just fine. Okay, let's talk about the defense. Yeah, Clemson's defense, anchored by T.J. Parker and Peter Woods. Now, for the last 2 seasons, I always felt like Clemson didn't have those dogs on defense like we were accustomed to having. Like when we won the 2016 and the 2018 national championship. I didn't feel like for the past 2 seasons we had guys out there that had that dog in them. I think that dog is back, okay? It's back. Not only that, we have a new defensive coordinator in Tom Allen. Tom Allen comes from Penn State, so I like what he is planning to do. From my understanding, it looks like he's going to want to run a 4-2-5 nickel defense. So we're going to see how that works out for Clemson's defense, but I look for us to get some great stops, put some pressure on the quarterback. And as a matter of fact, LSU's quarterback he and Cade could potentially, either one of them could potentially be a number 1 draft pick. So you got 2 good quarterbacks going against each other. But LSU hasn't won an opening game. I mean, it's been maybe 4 or 5 seasons. I don't know the exact stat, but they typically don't win that opening game, and this will be no different. Okay, Clemson's going to take that. That's what I'm betting on. That's what I'm counting on. Now, in terms of ESPN's computer model, okay, this is who they project to make the playoffs and potentially win a national championship. Let's look at a few teams here. Once again, it's a computer model. Everything will be laid out and played out once week one happens, and then it will just go from there. We'll see who takes what conferences. And before I get into ESPN's computer model, I want to talk a little bit about the Power Four and who they are projecting to take in the Power Four conferences. We've got the ACC, once again, my guys, yes, taking the ACC. We got SEC, they're saying Texas. They're saying Texas, but that could very well change. The Big Ten, they're saying Ohio State. Penn State could challenge that. And the Big 12, they're saying K-State, okay? Kansas State just lost to Iowa State this past weekend. It's only one loss, so we'll see if they can make a run. They can't keep losing, but as long as they, can turn it around, they can very well take that Big 12. But getting back to ESPN's computer model, they have teams like Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, and Texas A&M. Who do you have to win it all, and why? So that's what the computer model's saying. Now, as we know, this year we will have a 12-team playoff. And this is how it's going to break down. Now, to me, it's just a little confusing. So hopefully I won't confuse you with it and it makes sense to you. I think this first part of it it's pretty easy to understand, because the 5 highest ranked conference champs, they earn automatic bids. Okay, they will earn automatic bids. The remaining 7 teams will be selected based on rankings by the committee regardless of conference. Okay, the top 4 seeds receive a first round bye, and then directly and advance directly into the quarterfinals. The first round play-in games will be seeds 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, and 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. Okay, now the top 4 seeds play the quarterfinals at the New Year's 6 bowls. We know what those bowls are. Those bowls are the Fiesta, they're the sugar, they're the rose, they're the orange, they're the peach, and they're the cotton. So the top 4 seeds will play the quarterfinals in those New Year's Eve bowls. The opponents will be determined by the number 1 versus winner of 8 and 9. Number 2 versus the winner of 7 and 10. Winners of the semifinals move on to the championship game. So I hope that all made sense. I hope I have it right. If I'm not, feel free to put some comments in there, and hey, I stand corrected if it is not exactly that way. Now, we have some other interesting matchups going on next weekend as well. One is going to be Alabama at Florida State. Florida State is talking a lot of smack, y'all. They talking a lot of, bulletin board material. I would not do that. Really just based on the record they had last year. And I know last year is last year. And they made some changes. So, hopefully they'll put on a better show, better performance than they did last year. But they're talking a lot of smack. Like, come on, it's still Alabama, guys. Don't give them any type of, bulletin board material for them to really pounce on you, okay? So that's one matchup. Another one is Georgia Tech. Now, I'm an ACC girl, so Georgia Tech is going to Colorado. And that game is sold out. So Colorado fans are excited. And I guess it will be exciting to see what Coach Prime has out on that field. I don't even know who the starting quarterback is yet. We know that they lost Shador, they lost Travis, they lost Shiloh and other players, Jimmy Horn and other players. Now, I'm sure, he's going to put some performers out there. So I look for that to be a good matchup as well. Now, for those of you who are HBCU followers, okay, I don't know how many of you all watch HBCU games, but this is going to be a little later on in the year. And it's not that late. It's actually October the 30th. October the 30th will be Michael Vick's Norfolk State will take on Deshaun Jackson's Delaware State, and that's going to be at Lincoln Financial Field. They both have played at Lincoln Financial Field. Michael Vick's team going up against Deshaun Jackson's team, which should be a good one. Well, I will tell you, I am super excited about what is going to take place with college football. Like I said, there's a lot going on in sports. We will talk about those things in the next few episodes, but I did want to start off with college football. That is a wrap, guys, on this episode of Heels Off, Game On. If you felt that fire, then hit that follow button, okay? If you didn't, well, lace up, because I'm coming harder next time. I promise I will. Until then, have a week of victory and success. Bye.